So to make our chicken curry, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get a large wok, which I prefer. And to that, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. Um, I chose coconut oil because there's gonna be coconut milk added to this dish, so I wanted to stay consistent with the coconut flavor. So we're gonna get this melted, and when I start cooking, I like to get it really hot. So you're gonna have it at a medium-high heat, and as soon as you start to see the smoke come up, which it is now, and spread your oil around, and then we can add our chicken. And we're using chicken thighs bone in, and we're gonna lightly brown both sides. I always start with the fat side down, and then I flip it over to the other side. And it's just lightly golden. It's not cooked through. So the reason why I'm doing this is to add that layer of flavor. Not necessary, you don't have to brown the chicken. This is just my own preference. So once you've completed that, what we're gonna do next is remove all of the chicken thighs. So you're gonna do this to all the pieces of the chicken. And once you've set it aside, we're gonna turn off the heat and we're gonna drain some of that fat. As you can see, there's quite a bit of fat rendered out of the chicken. So we're gonna take some of that out. We're probably gonna leave about 2 tablespoons of the oil in the pan before we add our next ingredient. So we turn on the heat again and get the heat back up. And now we're gonna saute our fresh garlic, which is about 1.5 tablespoons. If you like more garlic, you can add more. If you don't like as much, you don't have to use as much. That's the great thing about cooking, is you can modify the ingredients to your taste preference. So we're gonna saute this till it starts to turn color. As you know, I prefer this way because it gives that nutty flavor. Then once it changes color, you're gonna add 2 inches of sliced garlic. And we're gonna saute this together alongside with 1 large onion chopped into small pieces. And the onion probably is 1 cup worth. So 1 cup of chopped onions. And we're gonna saute the onions till they're transparent, or like pretty much cooked. So once you see that you can kind of, the onions look kind of glassy, then they're done. So this is something that I like to do as well. I like to mix up my curry spices. I just find that every culture has their own blend. It gives an added flavor. So I'll use Asian curry, I'll use Indian curry, I'll use North American curry. This is this is an Asian version, and the very first one I used was the special curry that was gifted to me. It looked pretty expensive, but in total I'm going to be using about 1/4 cup of the curry of your choice. You could just use 1 kind. This is just something that I learned I like to do. There's a no-name brand curry right there. So once I add all my curry in, I also love turmeric. Like, all these curries already have turmeric, but in my opinion, you can never have too much turmeric. So I added another 2 teaspoons out of turmeric in that dish. So like I said, this should total to 1/4 cup of curry. I like to roast the curry in the hot pan. I find that it brings out the flavor and the spices. So as you can see, it's also soaked up all of the oil. So I'm just gonna add back a little bit of the oil and fat that we took out, just to rehydrate it a bit. I probably put back about a tablespoon, and then we're just gonna saute that a little bit. And once you've gotten it sauteed, our next ingredient is gonna be our coconut milk. So I'm going to be adding 2 cans of coconut milk. 1 can is 400 milliliters, so it should total 800 milliliters of coconut milk. And we're just gonna stir all of this up. And we're gonna let it come to a simmer, just so that I know that it's completely incorporated into the coconut milk before we add in our next ingredient, which will be the apple cider vinegar. So I prefer apple cider vinegar because of its health value. You can use whatever vinegar you prefer. You can use plain white vinegar if you like. So I used a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. And to flavor this dish, I prefer fish sauce. I just find that fish sauce gives a whole balance and flavor. It gives that umami flavor, that completeness that you're looking for. So I have about 1/2 cup of fish sauce here, and just like all the other ingredients, you can modify it. You can add more, not add so much. It's completely up to you. Taste the sauce and make sure it's to your liking. So once we have the flavoring ingredients in, and it's back to a simmer, now we're gonna add back the chicken that we took out. Remember that the chicken wasn't completely cooked. We just browned it. So we're gonna add them one by one back into the sauce. And I purchased these chicken thighs from Costco. So it's that massive pack of chicken. So I have, I think, about 26 pieces of chicken thighs in this dish. I make huge portions because not only are we gonna have this for dinner, but we're also gonna need some for the next day for our lunches. So in all of my recipes, I'm probably making enough here for 8 people. So once you got all the chicken thighs back into the curry sauce, we're just gonna stir that up and make sure that everything is completely coated and all the pieces are submerged in the sauce so that you have even cooking and everything is flavored through. Now the other ingredient that takes a while to cook is potatoes. So at this time, I'm gonna add 1 large potato that I diced so that the chicken and the potato can cook together, because once the chicken is cooked, so will the potatoes. We're gonna mix all that up again to make sure all the potatoes are coated now. and then we're just gonna let it simmer. The recipe will be in the description below, so if you didn't catch everything, the recipe is always below. I personally like everything spicy, so I'm adding a tablespoon of cayenne pepper. My family loves everything spicy, even at a spicier level than me. You do not have to add cayenne pepper. This is something I personally just love to do because, like I said, the spicier the better. So we're gonna just mix all this up again. And I just find cayenne pepper doesn't have flavor, but banana pepper definitely does. It's spicy too, but really not that spicy. So I'm just adding 1 for the flavor. And then once we've submerged it, we're just gonna cover it up and let it simmer for a little bit. So don't forget to open it up and stir it up once in a while. In all of my cooking, whether it's savory or sweet dessert, I always like to have that balanced flavor. So just like when you make a dessert, there's always salt. When you make savory dishes, I always add a little bit of sugar. So I added 1 tablespoon of sugar to this dish. Now, I'm on the keto diet, so we're not allowed to have potatoes in the keto diet or sugar. So if you are on a specific diet, you can eliminate the potatoes. And here I actually used monk fruit sweetener. It's not plain white sugar. It's a sweetener substitute that's safe for my diet and still tastes just as good. The dish will not be as sweet whatsoever. So the total cooking time for our curry will be 35 to 40 minutes covered. And then after 35 minutes, all the chicken should be cooked. Feel free to taste and adjust the flavor as you like. So if it needs more salt, a little bit more sweetness for balance, or if it's perfect, you just leave it alone. It needed a little bit more saltiness, so I added probably a teaspoon of Himalayan salt. And I like Himalayan salt because it has added healthy minerals. So just a teaspoon of that and should make it perfect. Now, another thing that I like to add to all of my dishes is vegetables. I find that if you add vegetables to all your dishes, it makes it more balanced. So I'm adding 1 bag of frozen peas. These are my absolute favorite peas. They're President's Choice. They're so sweet. I literally can eat them frozen like popcorn sometimes. So good. You're gonna add it frozen and just mix it up and incorporate it into the curry dish. Now it will bring the temperature down, so the simmering and bubbling will stop. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna bring this back up to a simmer. And once you bring it back to a simmer, then the dish is cooked. It doesn't take very long to cook the peas in the chicken curry. So once you bring that back up to a simmer, you can enjoy this. As you can see, there's always a lot of sauce because this is typically served with hot steaming rice, and it's always great to have that extra sauce on the rice. Because I'm on the diet, I'm serving this with cauliflower rice, which is in my channel, and enjoy.